always you have to do these steps. Find the GCF. If there's GCF, you're gonna factor out the GCF, and you're gonna go then to the next step. It depends about how many terms do you have. If you have 2 terms, you're gonna use the difference between 2 squared. If you have 3 terms, you're gonna use the AC method. If you have 4 terms, you're gonna use factoring by grouping. We covered this method. We covered this method. Today we're going to do more examples about the AC method. And at the last of this section, we're going to do the difference between 2 squared. Always the difference between 2 squared is going to be with 2 terms. So the first thing you have to do the GCF if there exists or no. The second step, it depends about how many terms do you have. So let's do more examples about the AC method when we have 3 terms, and always I'm going to check if there's GCF. So for this example, the first thing I need to check if there is GCF between these 3 terms. There is no GCF because we have X here, there is no number, there is a number here, there is a number, there is no common between 21 and 4 and the invisible 1. I have an X here, I have X here, but there is no X here. There's no Y here, there's Y, there's Y. That means there's no GCF between these 3 terms. You can do the same steps here on the side, factor each term. So the next step, I'm going to use the AC method. Why? Because I have 3 terms, 1, 2, 3. Always the A is here. Always the A here. And the C, this number here. So now we're going to multiply 1, the invisible 1, times 21 is going to be 21. Now the next step, we're going to factor the 21, multiply any number, any 2 numbers to get 21. We have 1 and 21, we have 3 and 7. That's the only 2 options. 1 and 21, 1, 21, and 3, 7. Which option I can use to get 4, positive 4? I can't use the first option. The second option, if I say minus 3 plus 7, minus 3 plus 7 is going to be 4, which is the middle term. So now here is the first term, minus 3. Don't forget you have to put xy because the middle term contains xy. So xy plus 7, always also xy, and minus 21 y squared. Now we have 4 terms. We're going to use the grouping because we converted it from 3 terms to 4 terms. Now we can use factoring by grouping. So we're going to group the first 2 terms and the last 2 terms. Here's the plus. And the last 2 terms. And then now I'm going to hide the second term, the second parentheses here. I'm just going to work here. What's the common between x squared and the 3xy? You see the common only 1x. If you want to do the same thing on the side, this is x squared. That means x times x. And on the second one, 3xy. That means 3 times x times y. So the common, just x. So I'm going to take the x out. And now I'm going to divide. You can do these steps on the side, but by practicing, it's going to be easier for you. X squared divide by x. X squared divide by x. That means x times x divide by x. Cancel this x with this one, the leftover just x. Minus 3xy divide by x. 3xy divide by this x. You're going to cancel the x. The leftover just 3y. So it's going to be 3y. we're done from the first part. Now we're gonna hide this part and find the common with the second parentheses. So what's the common between 7xy minus 21y squared?
Y.
Perfect, y, but check the numbers. Do you have common between 7 and 21?
3.
3 or 7? Here's the 7. 7, you can say 7 times 1. What about 21? You can say 7 times 3. So the common is what? Which number is the common?
7.
7. So you're going to say plus 7. Now, xy, y squared. Xy, that means x times y. Y squared, that means y times y. So what's the common between the variables? Is the y. So I'm going to say 7y. Now we have to write down the leftover. 7xy divide by 7y. I'm going to do it here. 7xy divide by 7y. You're going to cancel the 7. You're going to cancel the y. The leftover just the x by itself. So here's going to be x. The second one is 21y squared over 7y. 21y squared divided by 7y. That means 21y times y divided by 7y. Now 21 divided by 7 is going to be 3. Cancel 1y, the leftover just 1y. So it's going to be 3y. So it's going to be minus 3y. Now I'm gonna check this is the right solution. Why? Because I got exactly the same parentheses. This one, exactly the same, this one. So I'm gonna write down here x minus 3y, and the rest is going to be x plus 7y. That's it for this example.
Sir, can we still practice another example of this, or we're gonna?
Yeah, I'm gonna practice more. I'm gonna do 2 or 3 examples about this method. So now let's do this example. 2t squared plus 7t plus 3. So always I have to make sure if there is a common, a GCF. There is a 2 here, 7 and 3. There is no common between 2 and 7 and 3. T squared, t, there is no t. That means there is no common with the t's. That's why we have to move to the next step. Step 2 is to use, I have 3 terms, 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to use the AC method. AC method, and I always told you the number here with the squared, with the x squared, t squared, y squared is the A, and the number by itself is the C. 2 times 3, 8 times C, that's means I multiply 2 times 3 is going to be 6. Then I'm going to factor the 6 to 2 numbers. I have only one option, 2 options, 2 times 3 and 6 times 1. Now, which option I can use to get 7, which is the middle term? I can't use the first option because 2 plus 3 is going to be 5, but I can use the second option, which is 6 plus 1 is going to be 7. So I'm going to write down these in here in the middle. So here is the first term, which is 2t squared plus 6, the variable here t, so I'm going to write down t here, plus 1t plus 3. The last term. Now I have 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. I'm going to group the first two terms and the last two terms. I'm going to hide the first two terms. Now, who's going to tell me what's the common between 2t squared and 6t? Exactly. Now, 2t squared, that's mean what? 6t, that's mean what? And find the common. So the common is 2t. So let's do it here. It's 2. And the t is t squared, t times t. What about the 6? The 6 is 2 times 3. And here is the t. So with numbers, the common is 2. With variables, the common is t. That means the GCF here, or not the common, we can say it's 2 t. So I'm going to write down here 2t, open parentheses. We're going to write down the leftover here. We're going to divide. 2t squared divided by 2t. 2t squared divided by 2t. How much is going to be? Do exactly the same thing. 2t squared, that means 2 times t times t. What about over 2? So what's the leftover?
T.
T, because you're going to cancel the 2. You're going to cancel 1t, the leftover 1t. That means it's going to be t plus 6t divided by 2t. How much is going to be?
Three T.
Okay, it's 3 because you said 6 divided by 2, 3. But cancel the t. There's no t. There's no t, right?
Okay.
So it's going to be just plus 3. It's done from the first parentheses. Now we're going to move this one here to work on the second parenthesis. Do you have common between 1t and the 3? If there's a common between 1t and the 3?
The 1.
Perfect. Okay, you can say the 1. Okay, so I'm going to say, I can write down the 3 as a 3 times 1. Now the common between these two numbers is 1. So I'm going to say plus 1, and the leftover is going to be t plus 3. Because when you divide, 1t divided by 1 is going to be t. 3 times 1 divided by 1 is going to be 3. So, okay, that's fine. If you want to do it like this, it's going to be right. If you don't want to do it like this, like on these steps, I'm just going to keep this one. Because now you are college level. So now, 1t, can I write down as just a t? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, because if there is no number here, that means already there is a visible 1. So now I'm going to write down t plus 3. Now check this parentheses, exactly the same thing, this one. T plus 1, exactly the same. What about what's the number here? If there is no number, that means what's the number here?
1.
1. So here is the 1. I'm going to write down these two parentheses here. T plus 3. And now tell me, what's the leftover here with the other parentheses? 2t
Plus 1.
plus 1. That's it.
Sir, on the second, on the third step.
First
It
step,
has it has no where it said t plus 3 there.
mhm.
We divide 2t squared plus 6t by 2. We don't have to divide the t plus 3 by 2.
No, you don't have to divide t plus 3 by 2 because there's no common. Okay, so you remember when I hide the second parentheses?
Yes.
I'm gonna check these two terms here. The first parentheses. Do you have common between these two? We find the common is what? 2t, right?
Yes.
The common is 2t. Now I'm going to divide these two terms by 2t. And here's the leftover, right?
Yes.
When I'm done from this part, when I cover this part, I'm not going to divide these two by 2t. No, because this is the second parenthesis. I need to find the common here. The common here is what?
1.
1. I'm going to divide these two terms by 1, not by 2t.
Okay, I got it.
T divided by 1 is going to be t. 3 divided by 1 is going to be 3. You see, that's why it doesn't change anything, because we divide these two terms by 1. T by 1 is going to be t. The 3 divided by 1 is going to be 3. That's it. You're not going to divide it by 2t, okay? Let's go to the question.
Okay, thank
you. 3 times 35 is going to be 105. Now, how are you going to find the numbers? Let me show you how to find the numbers. So you're going to use the calculator, exactly the same calculator you have. Doesn't matter, like, if you can see the numbers. So I'm going to start 105. The first number, 1 times 105. Let's see the second number. 105, can you divide it by 2? You see, it's going to be decimal number, so I can't use this one. Now, 105 divided by 3 is 35. So 3 and 35. Let's keep going. 105 divided by 4. I can't because it's going to be decimal number. 105 divided by 5 is going to be 21. So 521. 105 divided by 6 is going to be the decimal number. 105 divided by 7 is going to be 15. So by 7 is going to be 15. Now here's the option. 105 by, you can keep going until I think this is not the last one. 105 divided by 8, you can't. 105 divided by 9, also you can't. By 10 is going to be decimal. 11, 12 until you arrive to the 15. So that's it. That's the only numbers we can use, the options. Now I'm going to check which option I can use to get 8, the middle term.
The last one.
The last one, because I can say -7 plus 15. -7 plus 15 is going to be 8. And it doesn't matter if you switch it. If you say 15 minus 7 is the same thing. Because the main thing, when I add these two numbers or minus these two numbers, I have to get 8. So the same thing. So I'm going to write down this 3n squared minus 7n. I have to put the n plus 15n minus 35. The last term. Now I have 4 terms. I'm going to use factoring by grouping. So I'm going to group the first 2 terms, and I'm going to group the last 2 terms. So I'm going to hide this one. Now, who's going to tell me what's the common between 3n squared minus 7n? So here is 3 n squared, which is 3n times n, and 7n, which is 7 and n. You see, I'm always doing that, so I'm not going to do any mistakes. To find the common, 3n squared, that means n times n. 7n, that means 7 times n. So there is no common between 3 and 7, but there is a common between the variables, which is the n. So I'm going to take n out. Now let's divide. Now tell me, if I divide 3n squared, divide by n, how much is going to be the result? Do it here also on the side. 3n squared divide by n. How much is the result?
N, 3n.
3n, perfect. Why? Let's do it. 3n squared is 3 times n times n. And here's the n. We're going to cancel one n, so the leftover is just 3n. That means the common is 3n, the left. Because you're dividing 3n squared by n, so it's going to be 3n minus. Now 7n divide by n, 7n divide by n. How much is going to be?
N?
No.
Or negative n? No.
No, here's the negative. You're going to divide 7n by n. How much the result? Check here.
It's 7.
7.
Because you're going to cancel the n, the left is just 7. So I'm going to write down here minus 7. We're done from the first part. Let's hide the first parentheses and work on the second one. Now tell me, what's the common between 15n and 35? Is there a common between the numbers? Yes, the 5. That means the common is 5, so I'm going to say plus 5. Now, the next step, we're going to divide. 15n divide by 5. 15n divide by 5. How much is going to be the result? 15 divided by 5.
3n.
3n. 3, and there is no variable here. So I'm going to write down the n. So it's going to be here, 3n. Here's the minus. 35 divide by 5.
5.
No.
Oh, 7. 7.
7. Yes, be careful. Sometimes you know, but you're going to do small mistakes. So it's going to be 7. You have to take your time. Now, if you check, I'm doing the right solution. Why? Because I have exactly the same parentheses. So I'm going to write down this 3n minus 7 and
And
the other
plus 5.
parenthesis n plus 5. That's it for this question. So if we have 4x squared minus 23x minus 35. Always, before you start using the AC method, you have to make sure there is GCF or no. 4, 23, there is no common between 4 and 23 and 35. So x's, the variables, we have x squared here, we have x here, there is no x. That means there is no GCF. So now we have to go to the next step, is using, we have 3 terms, so I'm going to use the AC method. Now the AC method, here's the A, and this is the C. 4 times 35 is going to be 140. 140. We're going to factor this one. The first numbers 1 and 40. Let me show you also how to do that. So 140 divided by 1 is going to be 140. 140 divided by 2 is going to be 70. So by 2 is going to be 70. By 3, you can't, because it's going to be decimal. By 4, it's going to be 35. Now by 5, 140 divided by 5 is going to be 28. And by 6, by 7, until here I stop. Why? Because I found an option. I can use this option to get 23. I'm going to say 5 minus 28 is going to be 23. So I'm going to use this option. So here is the first term. So 4x squared plus 5x minus 28x minus 35. Now I have 4 terms. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm gonna group the first 2 terms and group the last 2 terms. You see, I'm doing exactly the same steps all the time. I'm gonna hide this one. Now someone tell me what's the common between 4x squared and 5x.
All I got was X.
Just x, yes, because there's no common between 4 and 5, because here is 4x squared, which is 4, and here is 2 x's, and 5x is going to be 5 and 1x. There is no common with numbers, but I can take 1x from here and 1x from here. That means there's a common with variables. So here is the x, open parentheses. Now the division part. I'm going to divide this term 4x squared by x. Do the same thing here, 4x squared by x. That means 4, 2x's by x. Cancel 1x, what's the leftover?
4x.
So here's 4x. Plus, now 5x divided by x, how much is going to be?
5.
5. That's mean plus 5. Close the parentheses. Now we're gonna open this one and close this one. What's the common? Focus here. What's the common between negative 28x and 35?
X.
So write down 7 times 4. Write down the second number, negative 35, which is negative
7 times. Oh, negative 7 times 5.
Okay, so 7 times 5. Now tell me what's the common?
Negative 7.
Negative 7, you see, don't forget the sign. Negative 7, because negative 7, negative exists here and negative exists here. So I'm going to say negative 7. So this is the common, negative 7. Open parentheses. Now divide. Go ahead, start dividing. Negative 28x divided by negative 7. Negative 28x divided by negative 7. Tell me how much the result?
4x.
4x. Because negative 28 divided by negative 7 is going to be 4. There is no x to cancel this x, so I have to write down the x. That means here is going to be 4x. The second one, negative 35 divided by negative 7. How much is going to be?
5.
That's mean positive 5. So positive 5, that's me. I'm going to write down positive 5 here. Check, I'm doing the right solution because I got exactly the same parentheses. So I'm going to say here is 4x plus 5. And what I'm gonna write down here,
X minus 7.
x minus 7. That's it. This is the solution. Step is to find the GCF. So here's another example. If we have 12 n squared minus 40n plus 32. Always the first step is find GCF. Because now, if you multiply 12 times 32, it's going to be a really big number. But check, is there a GCF between 12, 40, and 32? Let's do it here on the side. Here is the 12. With the variables, I have n squared here, I have n. There is no variable here. That means there is no common with the variables. But I need to check the numbers. 12 is 4 times 3. 40, I can say 4 times 10. 32, I can say 4 times 8. That means the common is 4. That means GCF equal 4. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to write down 4 here, which is the GCF. And I'm going to start dividing all these numbers by 4. 12 divided by 4 is going to be 3 n squared. You see, I put the space here because I'm not gonna do the GCF with the AC method. I'm just gonna keep it here as a part of the solution. 12 divided by 4 is going to be 3n squared minus 40 divided by 4 is going to be 10n plus 32 divided by 4 is going to be 8. So this GCF is going to be goes to the end. So I'm not going to care about the 4 anymore. I need to do the AC method on this part only, here. This is the A, and this is the C. Now, here is the AC. 3 times 8 is going to be 24. We're going to factor the 24 to two numbers to get 10. 1 to 24, 2 10, no, 2 12. It's going to be 24. What else? 3 8 is going to be 24. 4 and 6. Now tell me, how many options do you have to get negative 10?
1,
Which option?
the number 4 and
The
the
last
number
one.
6.
Okay,
4
the
and
last
6.
one, okay, because you're gonna say minus 4, minus 6. Do you have another option?
Oh yes, number 2 and number 12.
Yes, this one also, because you can say 2 minus 12 is going to be what? Negative
Minus
10.
10.
So now I have two options. Here is the idea. You're going to start with one option. If it's work, that means this is your solution. If it's not, that means you have to go to the second option, okay? Keep this thing in your mind. When you have two options, go ahead, pick one of these options. I'm gonna pick this option. I'm gonna say 2 minus 12. I'm gonna work with this option. If I got a problem here at the end, that means this is not the option. I have to go with the second one. So here's the thing. Let's start with 2 and 12. So I'm gonna say 3 n squared plus 2n minus 12n plus 8. Now I have 4 terms. I'm going to group the first 2 terms and the last 2 terms. now let's check. What's the common? I'm going to hide this one. What's the common between 3n squared and 2n? I need to work on this one on the side and tell me what's the common.
N.
N. So the common is n. Why? Because 3n squared equal 3 and n times n, and 2n equal 2, and here is n. There is no common with numbers. There is only common with n. So I'm going to write down n. Now start dividing. If 3n squared divide by n,
Three n.
3n, perfect. Why? Let's do it here on the side. 3n squared equal, divide by n, it's going to be 3n times n, divide by n, cancel the n, it's going to be 3n. Plus 2n divided by n,
2.
is going to be 2. Because you can cancel the n, it's going to be 2. Now we're done from the first parentheses. I'm going to go to the second one. What's the common between 12n and 8?
N.
There's no n here.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So you can say the common between 12n and 8 is n. Do exactly the same thing here.
4. 4 is common.
4 is the common. Why? Because negative 12n is 4 times 3n, and 8 is 4 times 2. So the common is 4. So I'm going to take the 4 plus 4. Now start dividing. Negative 12n divide by 4. How much is going to be?
Negative 3 n.
Negative 3n. So I'm going to write down here negative 3n. 8 divided by 4.
2.
It's going to be 2. That's mean a plus 2. Now tell me, do we get exactly the same parentheses?
No.
No. So remember when I told you, when you have different parentheses, what are you going to do? If you have different parentheses, let's try this method. I'm going to write down the first one. Change the sign here. And change the sign inside the parentheses. So this is negative is going to be positive. This is positive is going to be negative. Now, do we get exactly the same parentheses?
Yes.
Check it again. Is that exactly the same parentheses?
No.
No, that's mean I can't use this option. This option is wrong. I have to use the second option. Why? Because when I got 2 different parentheses. When I change the sign here, I still have different parentheses. So now I have to go with the second option. So I'm going to go here and start working again on this problem, but I'm going to use the second option. So let's do the problem again. 3n squared minus 10n plus 8. And the GCF is 4. I'm not going to forget that because this is a part from the solution. But now I'm going to use this option, 4 and 6. So I'm going to say this is 3n squared, 4 and 6, I have to say -4 minus 6, so I can get -10. Let's put a cross here so you can understand this is not going to work. Minus 4n minus 6n plus 8. Okay, now I have 4 parentheses. I'm gonna group, sorry, 4 terms. I'm gonna group the first 2 terms and the last 2 terms. I'm gonna close this one. Now tell me, what's the common between 3n squared and -4n?
There's no n in the n.
The n. The common is the n, because there is no common with the 3 and 4, but I have n squared and n. If you do exactly the same thing here like steps, you're gonna get the common is n. Now tell me what's the leftover. 3n squared divided by n.
3n.
3n. So it's going to be 3n minus 4n divided by n.
4.
It's going to be 4. I'm done from the first one. Let's go back here. What's the common between 6n and 8?
-2.
Oh, you're right. It's negative. Well, why you said -2?
Because -2 but times 3, it will be -6. Oh, but it's not -2 on the other one.
So which number are you going to take?
I was going to say -7 times 4, but it's going to be -8, and there's no -8, just -6.
Oh, you're right. So can you take 2?
No, I can't.
Just 2 without negative.
Oh, yes, we do.
Yes, we can take 2 because I know how you're thinking. That's good. So you can say -6n, which is -2 times 3n. And you can say the other one 8, which is 2 times 4. I can take just the 2 without the negative sign, okay?
And it's going to be negative or positive.
So it's going to be +2. Now, -6n divided by 2.
-3.
-3, just -3?
N.
-3n. Plus 8 divided by 2.
4.
4. So I'm gonna write down 4. Now tell me, do we got exactly the same parentheses?
No,
So what I'm gonna do?
we're going to change the signs.
So change the sign. This is n, 3n minus 4. I'm gonna change the sign here and everything inside the parentheses. I'm gonna say -2. This is -3n, so it's going to be 3n. This is +4, is going to be -4. Now, do we get exactly the same parentheses?
Yes.
So this one and this one exactly the same. So I'm gonna say 3n minus 4, and the other parentheses n minus 2.
2.
Is that the solution?
Yes.
Don't forget the 4. Okay, so the 4, you have to write down the 4 here. You see, because the 4 is the part of the solution. When you factor the GCF, you have to write down the last parentheses with the 4. Okay, but I did this one on purpose. So I'm not gonna write down the 4 here and you're gonna get confused. So every time put a space here and put down the 4 on the end, So you're not gonna get confused here when you're doing these steps. Okay. So always when you have two terms, you're going to use this method, difference between two squared. Let's do this example and we will know what's the meaning of difference between two squared. If we have t squared minus 9, you see it's difference, that's mean minus. So always minus between the two squared. If it's a plus, you can't use this method. So always minus between these two terms, minus t squared minus 9. How are we going to solve this one? T squared, it's t times t. 9, give me two numbers, which is exactly the same number. When you multiply by itself, you get 9.
3.
3, because 3 times 3 is going to be 9. So now, this is squared, this is squared, this is minus, minus between two squared. I'm just going to open two parentheses, and you're going to put minus in one parenthesis and a plus, and it doesn't matter where is going to be the minus and where is going to be the plus. Minus plus, you can put a plus minus, it doesn't matter. One t is going to be goes here, and the other t goes to the other side. 1 3 goes here, and the other 3 is going to go to the other side. That's it. We're done. Let's do another example. If we have 4x squared minus 25. The first thing, I have two terms. Always keep in your mind, check if there is GCF or no. Always check if there is GCF or no. So if you check this one, there is no GCF between 4 and 25. And we have x here, x squared, but there is no x here. That means there is no common with the variables, and there is no common with the numbers. I'm going to the step 2. Step 2, I have two terms. That means I'm going to use the difference between two squared. Is that difference? Yes, because always supposed to be minus. Minus between two squared. This is minus now. 4, give me two numbers, exactly the same number. When you multiply by itself, you get 4.
2x.
2, you're right, but I'm gonna say I'm working only on the 4. So this is 2 times 2. What about the x? X times x. The 25 is what?
5 times 5.
5 times 5. Now I'm gonna open two parentheses. 1 plus, 1 minus. You see? Minus plus, plus minus. So it doesn't matter. What I'm going to write down here?
We're gonna put 2x,
2x.
and there's gonna be 5.
And
and the other one is gonna be 2x,
2x. And here,
5, and then the other one is 5 too.
right.
The only difference is gonna be the sign.
The only difference is going to be this. No, I'm talking about the sign. The sign doesn't matter if you put minus here or plus here, it's going to be the same solution. It's going to be right. Okay? So you can switch the sign. It doesn't matter. Okay? So don't worry about the sign. Just put 1 plus in one parenthesis, and the other parenthesis is supposed to be minus. So if you put plus here, it's going to be minus here. If you put minus here, it's going to be plus here. Okay? Let's do another one. And I need you to work on this one. 9 x squared minus 16. 3x plus 4. And
And then
here's
you-
3x.
3x minus 4.
That's it. This is our solution. So I'm going to open two parentheses. Okay.
It's going to be two parentheses. And then it's going to be 5 PQ plus 4. And the other
here,
one is going to be 5 PQ minus 4.
minus 4. That's it. If there is what, just P minus 4.
No, because that's not going to be a two term or
That's not going to be square. You're talking about the P. If there's just
Yes.
P, yeah. That's why it's called difference between two squared. That means this term here is supposed to be squared, and this term here is supposed to be squared. Okay?
Okay,
So,
always has to be square.
yeah, if you have P squared, yes, this is right. But if you have just P, you can't use this method. What about if you have P cubed?
It's not this method.
Yes, you can. You can. Now I'm gonna give you another example. That's a good question. Let us do this one. Let's do this one. This is really important. X to the power 4 minus 625. Can you solve this one? 3 times 3 is going to be 9. I'll keep going. 4 times 4, 16. 5 times 5, 25. Keep going until you arrive 25. Times the 25 is going to be 625. So here's the thing. You're gonna say this is 25 times the 25. And on the other side, you're gonna write down what? Here, you're gonna write down what? I have x to the power 4, not squared. So I'm gonna write down what? X squared times x squared. Okay? Because x squared times x squared is going to be x to the power 4.
So it will be x squared plus 25 and x squared minus 25.
X squared plus 25 and x squared minus 25. It's really long.
Sir, an easier way to get the exact number, it can be like the root, like the root of 6.
Yes, perfect. Perfect. You can take the square root for 625 is going to be 25. Perfect. Now, check here. Remember, I told you it's always negative. What about this one? Is that negative or minus between 2 squared? Yes or no?
What was the question?
Is that negative between 2 squared?
Yes.
Yes. So always, always like this example, you're right, you did the first step right. X squared plus 25, x squared minus 25. This is a tricky example. Why? Because you said you found the solution, but in fact, you can use the difference between 2 squared here. Because I'm gonna say the 25 is 5 times 5, and x squared is x times x. So I'm gonna use the difference between 2 squared on this part. You're gonna open another two parentheses, okay? X plus 5 and x minus 5. Now this is the solution. So when you use the difference between 2 squared on the main problem, you get these two parentheses. Always, I'm going to check the parentheses with negative sign. I'm going to check, is this difference between 2 squared? Yes. So I have to factor this part to another two parentheses. It's going to be x plus 5, x minus 5. Now, always check this one. Can you use difference between 2 squared here?
No.
No, that means I'm done until here. This is the solution. So always check the parentheses with negative sign if it's difference between two squares. Oh, how are you going to get the root in the calculator? The calculator, the app, right?
Yes, the app.
Okay. So let me open the app I have. So here is the app. You have to use the second function. So if you want to use the square root here, the square root here, you see here's x squared, there's a small root here, that means this is the second function. So to use the square root, you're gonna press the second and press the second function here. You see now it's square root 6 to 25 plus enter is going to be 25. Let's do it again. You're gonna press to use the second function. You see in the app there is x squared here, and there's a small square root here. That means this is the second function. And now I need to use the second function. So I'm gonna press the second 2 and d, and press this function is going to be the root. Write down the number 625, and press enter. It's going to be 25.
Thank you.
We're gonna learn how to find the root for any numbers. Not next section, the other one, how to find the root for any number. Now, here is this example. How are we going to solve this one? What's the first step? We have always to check this step.
The greatest common
Factor, okay.
factor.
The greatest common factor. Is there the greatest common factor between 5n squared and 80?
Yes, the 5.
The 5. So why? Let's do this on the side. Because 5n squared is 5n and n. 80, we can write down 5 times which number? 16?
16.
5 times 16. You see, the common is 5. So I'm going to take the 5 as a GCF, open parentheses. Now we're going to start dividing. 5n squared divide by 5. 5n squared divide by 5. How much is going to be?
N?
No.
N squared?
N squared, because you're going to cancel the 5. So the leftover is just n squared. So here is n squared. Minus 80 divided by 5 is going to be what?
16.
16. Okay, so this is the GCF. Now tell me, check the rest between the parentheses. Can you use difference between 2 squared?
Yes.
Yes. Why? Because n squared is n times n, and 16 is 4 times 4. So here is the GCF. Okay. I'm going to open two parentheses, 1 plus, 1 minus. What I'm going to write down here?
N plus 4.
And here,
N minus 4.
minus 4. Don't forget the GCF because it's a part from your solution. If you're not writing down the GCF, everything is going to be wrong. Always. What's the first step? Always you have to use it before or check it before you start factoring the polynomial. What's the first step?
Find the greatest common factor.
Okay, is there a greatest common factor between these two numbers? 2b squared is going to be 2, and here is the b times b. 200 is what?
200 times 1.
Or you can say 2 times 100, right?
Yes.
Because I need to find the common. 2 times 100 is 200, and the common is what?
2.
2. So I'm going to write down 2. Tell me the leftover here. 2b squared divided by 2.
B squared.
B squared. Plus 200 divided by 2.
800.
100. Now this is the GCF. Can I use difference between 2 squared here?
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Why?
Because the B squared, it will be B times B, and the 800, it will be 50 times 50.
No, 50 times 50 is
Oh,
not
20,
100.
25.
10 times 10. But check here before you moving on.
There's a positive.
You can't use the difference between 2 squared because it's a positive. It's a plus. You can use the difference between 2 squared when it's minus, okay? So that's it. For this example, this is your solution. So you're just gonna find the GCF and you're gonna open parentheses, write down b squared plus 100, okay? So that's a good practicing. If it's a plus, I'm just gonna make sure if there is GCF or no. If there's GCF, I'm gonna factor it out. I'm gonna write down the leftover here, and that's it. This is my solution. If it's minus, you can keep going by writing down b and one parenthesis, b to the other one, 10 to one parenthesis, and 10 to the other one. Okay? Like for example, if we have 2b squared minus 100, you can move on. You can say 2 parentheses plus minus, here is b, and here is 10, here is 10. But if it's a plus, this is the solution. That's it. If it's minus, you can keep going on. Okay?